Divorce to end with Season 3 on HBO as Sarah Jessica Parker ramps up development at Pretty Matches P. Exclusive: the 6-episode third season of HBO's comedy, which premieres tonight, will be its last. Series star Sarah Jessica Parker has a unique ability to showcase the complexities of personal relationships with such empathy and humor, said Amy Gravitt, EVP, HBO Programming. With Divorce, created by Sharon Horgan, Divorce stars Parker and as divorcing couple Frances and Robert. Parker said that, "It feels to me as if the first season we were pretty entrenched in battle, and it was not surprising to reveal that neither Frances nor Robert were very good at divorce. Most people aren't." Ending the series with a 6-episode installment was a joint decision Parker, Benson, and the other producers took after conversations with HBO and showrunner Liz Tuccillo. Between scheduling and complicated lives and actors, it was a confluence of things that came together that helped us decide that 6 was something that we wanted to do, and we felt confident that Liz could achieve what we were all hoping for this final look at Frances and Robert, Parker said. The final season also achieved a milestone for an HBO series with all-female directors. It was a natural we had been wanting very much to keep growing the women on the production side and keep finding opportunities for women, frankly, unrelated to the political and cultural environment that preceded some of the seasons, Parker said. As we moved close, the desire to support women in the industry is reflected in the makeup of Pretty Matches, named after Parker's line in her first film, The Little Match Girl, whose team consists entirely of women: Benson, VP Caroline Moore, Director of Development Livia Kramer and Development Coordinator Claire Demir. "Our company is a collection of intergenerational, curious, bright minds, all of whom come from different backgrounds, and we each bring our own varying interests and experiences to the table," Parker said. Similarly, the team's main goal is to look for voices and human stories that are unrepresented across the board, Parker said. It's not necessary, possibly with the exception of one project Pretty Matches has in the works, that does not involve Parker, who also starred in HBO's iconic series Sex and the City, headlining another TV show. But she is leaving typically, we don't develop for me. What's most interesting, looking back at her experience on Divorce, of course I am thinking of Thomas Hayden Church, who I adore and who I wanted from the beginning. He was my first choice, and Molly Shannon, and Talia Balsam, who I've long admired, Tracy Letts, Parker said. Being on the sounds, Benson praised expanding HBO and the opportunities at the pay cable network, the upcoming Warner Media streaming platform and elsewhere. "It has been an incredible home for us, and I do think it's an exciting time at HBO, and it's an exciting time, let's be honest, just across the board in terms of looking at these networks and looking at these emerging platforms and how you tell stories." Being a small company, for the past 3 years the Pretty Matches team focused most of their efforts on Divorce, which the company co-produces with Aaron Kaplan's Capital Entertainment and Horgan and Clelia Mountford's Merman Films. With the series wrapped, That Lonely Section of Hell is a limited series, written by Jen Richards based on the memoir by Laura Mershen-Her. It Falls into Peaches, written by Coleman Domingo, partnered with John Benjamin Hickey, is an ensemble series about an all-female, adult kickball league in the South, and the wildly diverse women in the league in need of a big life change. It's a fun, diverse female comedy set in around the world of kickball league that is a little bit more broad and is looking at middle-aged women through this sort of league, Benson said. Fresh Kills, written by Lara Vapniar and Frank Pugliese, is a drama series set in a small Staten Island community, which tells the story of 4 families with varying political and religious affiliations, young children, and different immigrant nannies, and how a local, unspeakable tragedy plays out in the face of xenophobia. It's sort of a cross between Big Little Lies and The Sopranos, Benson said. There's a mystery Meg, written by Charles Randolph and Craig Chester, is a comedy series set 35 years in the future when pharma and tech have developed the opportunity for people to be prescribed clones of themselves. What I love about it is, it explores that singular question of what happens when you have to come face to face with yourself, Benson said. Big Game, a limited series written by Clint Bentley and Greg Quetta, is a geopolitical thriller exploring the interconnected web of the illegal ivory trade, anchored in the varying yet overlapping perspectives of a biologist in the national park in Africa. The Park Rangers, it's about a female biologist and a story that takes us not just to Africa but brings us into the high seas, Eastern Europe, and Asia. It is a big sweeping room for change, with purveyors of pop, is a reality series following interior designer Mike Harrison, who specializes in small spaces, even smaller budgets, and has become the designer of Broadway dressing rooms for A-list talent. We see him, kind of DIY, go in and work with actors that have Broadway shows, and he redos their dressing rooms, Benson said. It's really fun. On the feature side, Pretty Matches is working on a comedy that is looking at family wealth and inheritance in the vein of Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, which is being written and is likely going to go into production next year. Here is the company's full development slate. That Lonely Section of Hell, a limited series written by Jen Richards, based on the memoir by Laura Mershen-Her, partnered with Conquering Lion Pictures, the story of the Robert Pickton case, a Canadian serial killer who murdered 49 Indigenous women and sex workers, anchored in the perspective of the transgender detective who was leading the investigation. Peaches Comedy series written by Coleman Domingo, partnered with John Benjamin Hickey, a ensemble series about an all-female, adult kickball league in the South, and the wildly diverse women in the league in need of a big life change. Fresh Kills, a drama series written by Lara Vapniar and Frank Pugliese, set in a small Staten Island community, the story of 4 families with varying political and religious affiliations, young children, and different immigrant nannies, and how a local, unspeakable tragedy plays out in the face of xenophobia. Meg Comedy series written by Charles Randolph and Craig Chester, set 35 years in the future, pharma and tech have developed the opportunity for people to be prescribed clones of themselves. And what happens when you come face to face with yourself? Big Game, a limited series written by Clint Bentley and Greg Quetta, a geopolitical thriller exploring the interconnected web of the illegal ivory trade, anchored in the varying yet overlapping perspectives of a biologist in the national park in Africa. The Park Rangers, Room for Change, a reality series with Mike Harrison, partnered with Purveyors of Pop, a non-scripted format exploring the process of interior designer Mike Harrison, who specializes in small spaces, even smaller budgets, and reading the mind of his clients. Having become the Step 9 Comedy series written by Nana Mensah, Janiza Bravo attached to direct, partnered with Refinery 29 a dark comedy series following a young black woman's attempt to climb back up from rock bottom. As a Harvard grad, No One Tells You This comedy series based on the memoir by Glynis MacNicol, a comedy series exploring what it means to be an adult woman who has decided that you don't want for yourself what society has told you should, including marriage and children. How does one navigate? Additionally, the company is working on a documentary project with Academy Award winners Ezra Edelman and Caroline Waterlow. A comedy series outside of film and TV. In the last few years, Parker expanded her portfolio with a book imprint and a shoe collection. Her SJP, Parker's Shoe Business, which she owns with former Manolo Blahnik CEO George Mopmuis, is in its 5th year. The duo has 2
Raindrop, drop top, smoking, no cooking the hot pot. Fucking on your bitch, yeah, that. Looking